All right, we're back. This is Managing Information Systems. This is chapter number 2, and we're dealing with the hardware and software, and this is part number 3. We're finished. We left off with the application software. This is a good place to end this chapter because this is really leading off into Managing Information Systems, which is talking about different software systems. Starting off with application software. Applications are kind of what they refer to sometimes as horizontal applications that almost everyone uses. So commercial software or software developed in-house that performs very specific tasks on your personal computer. Now these are things that most people use. So all students would be proficient with most application software for obtaining a job. In fact, if you go into any job posting for an office job, they almost always say you must be proficient with computer literacy. And that includes things like having to be able to use word processors, spreadsheets, database, presentations, graphics, and things like Outlook as well to be effective at your job. Now, at this stage, because this is so important for students, that Douglas College has gone in and created or has purchased the software for students. So you can get in there and access it in two separate ways. You can use the system either online or you can download it onto your personal computer. So if you haven't done so already, I would really encourage you to do that. Now, I'm going to give you just a quick look at that. So let me pause here. All right, I opened up a website here called office.com. Now, all students have access to this. Again, Douglas College has spent a lot of money, and part of your student fees go towards the subscription of this. So if you just type in office.com, it will take you to this website and you can log in. Now I've got my account set up in my computer, so I'm able to just select it and open it up. And I don't want to show that again, make it a little bit easier. All right, so here is what they refer to as the Office 365. These are the software applications or the main applications that everyone should have access to. Word, Excel, there's your PowerPoint presentation software, there's your Outlook, there's the OneDrive. This is a great program for students taking notes in class, and this is a SharePoint. You're probably not going to use it, and there is other applications that you can access inside of here. Now you may not have a list of all these. I think they give instructors more access to this, but for the first few that you should definitely have access to. Now if you want to install the actual application on your computer, what you're looking at here is the software as a service. This is a software application delivered on a web browser as a service. They call that an SaaS. And over here on the right hand side is Install Office. This allows you to install it on your Macintosh or your PC. I would encourage you to install Windows as a dual boot on your Mac and then install the Windows version right there. So when you open these up, for example, if you open up Excel and you can create a new workbook, and these software as a service applications that you have access to are not as robust as the full version that you download. These are sort of an online version, so they've watered it down a little bit. So you'll notice at the top here, these menu options are not quite the same as the full version that you can download, but it does probably, I'd say 60 to 80% of the same amount of work, the most common type of stuff you want. And this is completely free, and it stores it in your OneDrive as well. So definitely take advantage of this. Get in there and open it up because you'll be using this a lot throughout your educational time and also in your career. Now there are other application software programs that you guys can to learn. These are more specialized, like desktop publishing. It's not for everybody. So Adobe has a whole series of desktop publishing type of software tools. These are more of the creative style, like Illustrator, that allows you to design. And desktop publishing is not as popular as it was now that the web has become so dominant. Everybody develops on the web, and rather than creating desktop published documents, although there's a bit of an overlap between the two. There's financial planning and accounting applications, and if you're in the accounting program, you probably take a look at Quick Links or other applications that are specifically designed for financial planning, for accountants. And again, this is not a horizontal application. This is a vertical application, meaning that there's only a few people that need that where word processing, everybody needs it, so it'd be a horizontal application. Spreadsheets, the same as that. Databases probably would be more of a vertical application. Presentation programs, like people do them, but not that often. Graphics, probably even less so, so kind of follows up. Project management is a very specialized tool for people who are in charge of a project and need to manage and coordinate all the different components. And there's a program inside of Microsoft called Project, and it is a fantastic tool that if you're in project management, that is the tool that a lot of people use. Here's another specialized vertical program application software called AutoCAD or CAD. It's for design. If you're designing buildings or cars or anything, CAD is the tool to do that. And there's literally dozens and dozens more categories. And when you're actually going to be picking a category for your presentation, but you're going to get off into more specialized areas relative to what you guys are pursuing. So if you're in, say, marketing, you might want to get into something like Salesforce, would be a software application, and you'll be digging into one of these in a lot of more detail. So I'm kind of introducing it here as a software application, but you guys are going to be exploring this in a lot more detail in a very vertical market. When I say vertical, that means there's only very specific people that are going to be using it. And it's a specialized managing information system that's being used. Now, to make these applications, you need a programming language, and it's good to have a basic understanding of how this works. So they start off with, in a programming evolution years ago, it started off with binary programming. So binary programming was, let me just open up my slide here. And no, that's not it. There we go. It was developing code using the actual computer, talking to the computer in its own language, which is talking binary. So over on the Wikipedia page, I just open up the binary code and what it is. And you can see here that they've got a little analogy here of binary digits all collected together that represent a decimal value that translates to an ASCII character. And so if you wanted to spell out Wikipedia, this would be the actual code and how it would look. There you go. There's an example of how to enter in at that very basic level. And as such, what you could do with this is extremely basic. So in the early days, like back 60 years ago or more, it was only dealing with zeros and ones. Now it evolved to the next stage. So they took a lot of these binary codes and they associated it with to these mnemonic codes, this assembler language. So they would move particular blocks. These were mnemonic symbols that represented things with the machine code, and then it would translate or assemble that into machine language, so then the machine could interpret it. So the programmer could then learn assembler language to then talk to the machine language. So this was the next iteration or the next stage of development with computer programming, was assembler language. Then they went to the next stage, which was a higher level language, and this was one that was very common. It was called BASIC. And you could actually write English-like terms like, let's clear the screen off, let's print some instructions, and then let's assign the number 15 as the radius, 20 as the X, 20 as the Y, and let's do a circle in green. And it would produce something like this. So it was a little more easier for the average person to understand this because it was still cryptic, but there was still some logic to it. It wasn't so like zeros and ones. Humans really have a hard time with that. And then from there, we went to the fourth generation of languages, which was the graphical languages. Let me just open that one up here. And I'm going to use Microsoft Excel to show you that. Now, Microsoft Excel is, let me just open up the Microsoft Excel. There we go. That's the application program. And you might not know it, but Microsoft Excel has a programming language in it. People think, well, it's just a program for doing spreadsheets. But there's a tab called Developer, and under Developer, there's a complete programming environment. And it's called Visual Basic, which was the next kind of iteration. And this is a little sample of a program I wrote last year. And it simply just allows me to, within my spreadsheets, to equate a percentage to a letter grade. So when I'm assigned student marks, I can actually create, something that was, let's see here if I can even do this. Is it percentage? Did I do it as percentage? Or is it grade? Let's see here. yeah, grade. I think it's grade. And I put in, let's say, 77, and it translates into a B. There you go. So I wrote a program in Excel to help me with my grades because, of course, Excel doesn't have a function to calculate student grades. But if you got 77, that would give you a grade of a B at Douglas College. So I did that by writing a simple program in a fourth generation language in what they call Visual Basic Application, or VBA. And here's how the code would look. So it's basically allowing you to, here's the one I did right here. It's a function where it accepts a letter grade and then it calculates it down. All right, that's what they call the source code, by the way. And from there, it moved on to, there we go, catching up here. So there's a machine language, then there's the assembler language, and then the higher level language, and then the fourth level. So the higher level was the quick basic language I showed you to draw the circles. The fourth generation level language was to write these functions or macros within. And then we get into the fifth level generation languages, which is now starting to come out, which is more English, like where you actually talk to the computer interprets what you're saying, and then translates that into computer code for you, which is really becoming part of the artificial intelligence revolution that computers are moving towards, which is part of quantum computing and artificial intelligence, which will be the fifth generation of programming languages. All right, so that is pretty much a wrap for Chapter 2. And just to kind of summarize, I'll let you guys read through these points, and we've kind of covered a lot of these. But with that said, definitely read through the chapter in the e-textbook, because the quizzes go through a lot of the terminology. I might not have covered them all in these videos. So read through the glossaries, get used to the acronyms, read the terminologies, and then that's what you'll be assessed on in the quizzes. And there'll be a quiz in week number 2, at the end of week number 2. I think this is your first quiz. All right. So I think that pretty much wraps up for chapter number 2, and I will see you guys in the next video series.